you can either raise your hand, you can just type it into the chat. I'll read it out to him and he will give his answer. Darren, I got to tell you, I'm probably going to apologize ahead of time because you're probably going to get treated like a Google rep and probably some venting frustrations about the lack of transparency for Google business profiles.
Yeah,
For
well, go ahead, give it to me. I'll be empathetic.
all right, well, I have one that I can start with on my end. Until people liven up a little bit, warm up a little bit. Guys, don't be shy. Darren is here to help. He does not bite, that's for sure. Um, Okay, so I actually have a question for you, Darren. Again, I apologize if this is like I don't work for Google, so I can't help. But
Yep.
we have been deploying more and more of the open up a new office for our law firm clients strategy, right? So we have one
Yep.
law firm here in Florida, 10 locations across the
Love
state.
it. Yep.
He we did the research for him. Personal injury lawyers do very well in high population, lower to middle income areas.
Hmm.
We found a couple office locations for him. My wife is a broker here in Florida. Easy, got him an
Yep.
office.
Yep.
We literally didn't even have to go through any verification process. I'm assuming because he had so many other locations already set, right? It wasn't a bulk
Mhm.
verification process. We just set it up. He got verified like that. Now,
Instant verification. Yeah.
instant verification. Now, the challenge is though, is that when he kind of went through the process, because we told him to do it, he put his cell phone into the phone number for the business.
Okay.
We have tried everything, Darren. We have tried multiple edits. We've tried suggesting edits. We've tried it from different profiles. We've tried a million different things. That phone number will not change. We've even tried, like building a bunch of citations to try and build some sort
Yeah.
of kind of like, error and consistency so Google can see that it's his cell phone number.
Yeah.
And it's become a big problem for us because we're kind of on the verge of losing the account because we can't change it. And therefore, he's like, well, I'm not going to do anything with you guys because I don't want people calling my cell phone number, so I'm very close to just shutting this office location down. Um, I'll tell you some other things that we are in the process of testing because this was something somebody else told me. And if you have any other ideas, I'll ask you
Good.
afterwards.
Yep.
We're trying to generate as many reviews as possible to try and, like strengthen the profile, if you will, or
Mhm.
legitimize the profile a little bit. So we've got a couple handful now, but what we're also trying to do is set up LSAs tied to that Google business profile because our thought is that maybe the LSA support team will be better because we can be like, look, we're not going to advertise with a cell phone number. We can't change it because it's tied to the GBP. Is
Yep.
there any flexibility? I don't know if you think that will work or if you have any other thoughts, if at all. And again, I totally understand that this is kind of one of those it is what it is situations a lot of the times.
So wait, if you go into the Google business profile as a manager or owner of the profile and go and change the phone number, it gets rejected. What happens?
Yeah,
Your edit should go pending, and then what?
it doesn't change.
So at that point, I would contact support. But maybe you don't want to contact support because you don't want to, get their eyes on this potentially not legitimate profile. Is that what's happening?
Well, it is legitimate profile because we have a signed commercial lease. We have, it's a real office location that we got in the Fort Myers area.
Yeah.
Um, it just
Then that should be all good. Just contact support. They're really good. Let me give you the link to
they're good with you, man. I was gonna say we tried contacting support, but
what? Yeah.
it's
Those kinds of things, like let's say for example, the big one is like located in. You get that little located in tag. There's no real way to change that. You can go and suggest an edit, but it doesn't really seem to take. And so you just contact support, and they generally are pretty good at taking that. So
okay.
I'll put this into the chat. Yeah, sends it to the group chat. This is the form to contact support. I would do that. I would just contact support and be like, "Hey, we're having a hard time changing the phone number. We've made the edit multiple times. It's the business owner's cell phone. I want them to change it to this number. Can you please make that change on our profile? If it's all legitimate, you don't have anything to worry about your profile getting suspended. It should be fine."
Okay, perfect. All right, question from Ann. But before we get to the question, actually, Darren,
Yeah.
um, anything new with WhitSpark that you want to share with us? Any new features, any new releases, anything new coming up? That's
Yeah, so the software team is very busy working on our new grid ranking software.
Nice.
So everyone loves the grid rank. So we got the, like local Falcons, local Dominator, Viking type stuff. Most local search companies have some kind of grid ranking tool. We'll have one now too. So
Awesome.
ours is coming. I feel like ours is the best. Of course, I'm very biased, but I'm really excited about what we're going to launch. And so if you go to whitespark.ca, at the top of the page, it'll be like get on our notification list when we launch. We'll also use that list to like invite beta testers and that kind of thing. So if you're interested in that, you want to see the best grid ranker in advance of other people, then get on that list and we'll let you know when we launch it.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's kind of the one thing that has a hangover left over from us still using a tool like Local Falcon. We kind of ditched Bright
Yeah.
Local a while ago, so that's awesome to know.
Yeah, it's coming. It's going to be great. And actually, all the Blueprint members get 20% off. So exciting
Absolutely.
times.
Love it. All right, and do you want to ask directly, or do you want me to just read your question out? Just unmute yourself if you want to ask directly.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I am about to sign a realtor, and I feel like I know how to help businesses because I am one. But I don't really know the implications for SEO for realtors. Like, can I do a keyword rich business name like I would with a business? Like, they're under Keller Williams. She's not a brokerage. She's just a high performing agent.
Mm.
And so I don't really know the ins and outs of SEO. And I know, Ryan, you have a realtor as a wife, and I'm sure you've SEO'd her. So, like, what are some tips that you can give me to kind of shortcut this and give her success?
Yeah, I'll take a first stab at this, Darren.
Yeah,
So
awesome.
I have not SEO'd my wife, quote unquote, because one, she's in a similar situation where she works under a large brokerage, and there's not like for me to do that, I would have to create her own website. I would
Right.
have to probably get her home address or get verified, which I don't really want to do,
Right.
because I don't really need our business out there like that, especially as a woman in Miami dealing with a lot of men. I just
Right.
wouldn't that level of access. So she would have to get an office. So that's kind of like the crux of this, right? And I think the question is, what is the relationship between her and the brokerage? Because Keller Williams, like real estate agents are kind of like they're contractors basically, right?
Right.
In a sense, they have their own business, but they're under the umbrella of a large brokerage, which is supposed to feed them leads, but not to the same extent that like a franchise would with a franchisor, which would so like they're kind of on their own, which is a very big challenge. So my 2 cents would be this, and would be I actually don't think like if she only has call it $1,000 to invest in marketing, I probably wouldn't put it into SEO if I were her. I would probably do. Go ahead.
Well, I actually made her an offer, and I was going to build her a WordPress breakdance, thanks to Darren's juice on breakdance site. And I was going to optimize it, and I was going to do content creation for her for a year.
Okay.
So she's actually a top performing agent. She did 350,000 last year, which is pretty good.
Mhm.
I mean, like that was her take home. So I think she sold millions. So she's
Yeah.
decent, but she has no website to speak of,
Yeah.
like
Okay.
literally none, and no Google business profile. And she wants a 24/7 salesperson. And my intention is to create that for her, but I just don't know if I have the power to have a name in the business profile type of leverage for an agent that's under a brokerage.
She would have to get her own. That would be kind of like she would have to probably talk to the company and see if they're okay with her doing that. I'm assuming they probably would be because that's just going to help her generate leads, which is going to sell business for them. But for her to get a verified Google Business profile, she's going to need a physical address to get verified. She can probably get her
She has
home.
her home. She
Okay.
has an office
So
out of there.
step one would be to get that verified.
Okay.
Step two would be I wouldn't put like, Ryan Stewart, Keller Williams agent. I would just do like Ryan Stewart, try and sneak in like Miami real estate agent or like Miami.
Relocation military expert.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. So that would be step one, and then the website would obviously support that. Darren, I don't know if you have anything to add on this.
Yeah, so I think she's going to get massive value. If her current strategy is to just, oh, well, whatever Keller Williams sends me, that's all I get. If she builds her own dedicated website, she builds her own Google business profile verified at her own address, that actually gives her quite a bit of leverage if she removed brokerages, right? So she's not so tied to the brokerage. She actually has
Right,
her own thing. And that's
right,
actually real estate agents are contractors. And so I think that it's a really smart move for her. I think she'll get great benefit from it. And being able to start kind of from scratch. You've got a brand new website. You got a she can
right.
specify her business name to get those
Yeah,
keywords in the business name,
yeah,
build out the citation, start driving reviews to her own Google business profile.
right.
I think that that's a real powerful strategy. And that's actually a bit of a sales strategy for you. Be
Yeah,
like, right now you own nothing. Let's
right,
let's build up something that you now own. This is going to be yours. And so you're not so tied to your brokerage. You have
right.
your own thing, and I think there's some great models out there to follow. I would look at Matt McGee. So Matt McGee is a longtime friend of mine,
Matt
and
McGee.
he's got this whole thing where he teaches real estate agents how to rank, and his model. You just look at whatever his wife did. So he's been doing marketing for his wife for a decade, and he actually went full time to be like his wife's in-house SEO person. And so whatever they've got for their own website, their own Google business profile, you can see exactly what their model is and sort of follow that model. But yeah,
Matt
I think it's,
McGee, can you tell me how to spell that so I can Google him?
yeah, MATT space MCGEE.
Okay, okay.
Matt McGee, SEO savvy realtor or something like that. He's
Well,
got
I'm
this
pumped.
whole thing.
I'm
Yeah.
pumped. It's going to be so. I mean, she has no online profile to speak of, no Google's business profile,
Great.
nothing. And I mean, she's like crushing it. She's crushing it. And
Yep.
I mean, he just prays and hopes that God sends her leads. And then these women who are coming from like social media and Facebook groups just refer her. Like, it's
Yeah.
crazy. Like,
Yeah.
it's just
What's
not
your
a
lead
sustainable
strategy?
business model.
I pray to Jesus that I get some leads.
Yeah, that's exactly what she's doing, and it's fabulously working. But imagine if she had an online storefront that she could send people to where they could kind of stalk her a little bit,
It's great.
and get some info, because that's what people want to do. They don't always want to just call right away. Like, well, I mean, sometimes you just want to stalk someone and like find out what they're about and, contact when you're ready, right?
Yep.
For sure.
Chime in real quick. I don't want to step on anyone's toes here, but
Yeah, go ahead, Susie.
I have a real estate agent client. He has his own website and Google business profile. He only had a handful of reviews because he was collecting reviews through, like Zillow and all these other platforms. And so I really encouraged Google. So we've been using his Google business profile reviews, but he's with Coldwell Banker. His Google business profile office is the Coldwell Banker office.
Mm-hmm.
And his website, we just started SEO on his website and had like amazing results in the first month, like better than any other client I've ever had, just by fixing the website and doing, all the basic web SEO things. And then we just started his local service ads. And so far it's been amazing. So I just wanted to chime in and say that these efforts are worth it. I think her having control over her business is going to be huge because, my client's been in business for 28 years. He's gone through, this is his third brokerage now. And so, if she decides to leave or move somewhere else, like she takes her brand with her wherever she goes, and she brings a lot to the table too. And so I think this is going to be great for her.
Awesome.
Do any of the agencies restrict them from doing that on their own? I'm just curious. That sounds like a good market. Does like Keller Williams or Coldwell Banker just say you can't do that, or they allow that?
I would imagine that they don't, because what I know and understand about this is the space through my wife is that a brokerage kind of says they're going to give you leads, but they kind of don't. Also, they kind of expect you to come with your own. What I was kind of alluding to and what Ann was talking about too is that, her friend has sold millions last year and has no SEO presence. I do think that SEO is a second step, not a first step for real estate agents. The first step is referrals, like networking, relationships, credibility, finding your kind of like little niche within the space, and social media. It's free. And that's the other issue too, is that it can get very expensive doing this marketing. And if you're paying it, like the brokerage isn't paying for the marketing. You're paying out of your own salary, right? Like it's very hard to do. I struggle with when I first got started, let alone, agents. So it's a really good, I think, second step. And also too, because of that, I think LSAs and local SEO are kind of like a little hidden pocket because of the nature of the relationship where a brokerage holds all of the revenue for the most part that would invest in actual marketing, but there's a million agents and there's not a ton of brokerages. And so there's kind of a small blue ocean strategy in the real estate game to get into the local SERPs and LSAs too, where I'm sure the leads coming off LSAs are $10 or less. Granted, there's probably a lot of bad leads, but still $10 leads from search is incredibly high intent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the next question here. Thank you all by the way, I love the conversations. Guys, this is what this is all about. Please feel free to chime in. Don't be shy. This is not just me and Darren talking to you. This is everyone has their own insights. We'd love to hear from you. So Darren asks, link building to CID URLs, is it a waste of time? Have you ever tested it? So a CID URL actually had a
I know what
Google.
you mean, yeah.
Go ahead,
It's a
Darren.
waste of time, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
So I have not personally tested it. The only test I'm aware of was done by Colin over at Sterling Sky. He tested it. They do this all the time, actually. They're like, oh, we noticed a tiny little blip in ranking improvement, but it didn't last. And for me, a tiny blip is meaningless because that's just regular Google fluctuation. So I don't believe that it has any impact. It doesn't make sense that it would have any impact. Google's not measuring links to your Google business profile. They're measuring links to your website, but links to your website then impact your local rankings. So I would not waste a moment on that strategy or geotagging images. Don't do that. Just I would like to slip that in there. Don't do geotagging images.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I guess in theory, so CID URL I didn't know what it meant, so I had to Google it.
Oh
Is
yeah.
the Google Business profile URL.
Yeah.
It's actually a question that we get asked quite a bit, and I've never had the answer to it. I've kind of always hedged the same way too, which is like, I don't know why they would count that as a link, right?
So rare too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very unnatural too. I mean, unless you got to get embedded or something like that, but it feels very unnatural. Susie asked about the grid ranking software. Susie, that's on whitespark.ca. You can sign up for the wait list there to get access to it. Jason asked, I have a mobile med spa client. They're in two cities, Austin and Houston. They have one Google business profile, but set a service area, business location equals no location, to be both Austin and Houston. This is incorrect, and they should build a GBP for each city and set the service area accordingly.
So yeah, the service areas that you set in your Google business profile will not help you rank in those service areas. It's really stupid. So Google provides the service areas field. They have zero impact on ranking. So it's like, well, why did you even give us that field, Google? So the reason that that field exists is just to show customers the areas you're willing to service. And it draws this little red outline on the map. That's all the damn thing does. And so if you actually want to rank in two different cities, you must have your own Google business profile in each of those cities. Otherwise, forget it. You could rank organically in the blue links with a service page, but if you want to rank in a local pack or the maps results in a different location, you must have another Google business profile there. And so for a mobile med spa, you might have a hard time getting it verified.
Do you
Unless,
think do you recommend them actually get because they're making a lot of money? Do you recommend them spending a little bit just for a physical office then in those
100%.
cities?
This is the
So
best way to do it.
that's
Yeah.
much better, right?
Yeah, that's what Ryan said earlier, that they're just setting up an actual office. They're getting a lease agreement. Sometimes, if you get into a sticky situation with the verification, you need some kind of utility. Utilities are hard to get with an office location because utilities are included in the office, right? So your utility is your internet bill. Even if you don't use it, you set up a actual, skeleton of an office. You get an internet service from Verizon. That's your utility bill. So now you got a lease agreement. You might need to get some kind of insurance at that office. And now you've got the internet. So those three are your official documentations. You've got signage, you have a desk. You can actually get that physical location verified in the other city. It's a strategy that it's against Google's guidelines, like because they're not real offices, they're supposed to be staffed, but it works like a treat.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep.
And just kind of a follow-up also on service areas. So something like a landscaping business, right? That a customer would never go into, I mean, hypothetically, but like also
Yeah.
realistically, like never go into a physical office to be like, hey, I want landscaping. They're calling, and the service provider is always going to the client's home location, right? So like in that instance, Darren, just kind of piggyback off what you said,
Yep.
like they should still be set up as a service area business though, right? Based on where their office location is and like
Yeah.
what.
So in Google's lexicon, if you remove your address from your profile, you are now a service area business. You are telling people that customers don't come to you, you go to them. And so when you remove your address from your profile, that there's a lot of chatter that you will rank worse. Like having an actual address on your profile helps you rank better. I'm still testing that. I've removed addresses from profiles and seen no ranking movement, but I hear a lot of reports of people that say that they have seen a ranking drop. So that's one thing. You should set your business. If you're lawn care, you definitely should have your business set up as a service area business because you typically do not have an office location that people come to. So to be within the guidelines, you should have your address hidden. And then if now the question is, okay, well, I want to open a new location in a different city, if it's a suburb or whatever, because I want to attract business from that city, from the local results. Now you're going to have to create another service area business. But there are some rules around that, like how many service area business locations can you have? How far apart do they have to be? And I believe, so I always have to Google this, but Sterling Sky has a good article about when can you open another SAB location. Sterling Sky service area business. I think second location. This Google search. Get it for me. Yeah, when can based businesses have multiple locations? So there's a great article here. I will link it in the Zoom chat, and that'll answer some of those questions. It's like you've got to have this. You can't have an overlap of the service areas that you set in your service area section. They must be a certain distance apart. I feel like it's like 200 miles. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, they're not supposed to be close. Like you're not supposed to set up 7 SAB locations across a city. Google doesn't like that. They just say you should have one.
Steve asked, helping a realtor get LSAs going. They started getting calls, but I put the ad on pause because they kept getting calls outside of their service area. Is there anything we can do about that?
Yeah, you can set service areas within
Yeah.
within the LSA profile. There's a little section, and you can actually enter zip codes or city names that you're willing to service, and that's within the LSA profile. So in the Google Ads interface, there's a
Yeah,
section
we
you can
did
find it.
that, Darren. And they were getting, so I'm in the northwest corner of South Carolina, about 8 miles from North Carolina. So he services that Asheville, Spartanburg, Greenville area, mainly Spartanburg and a little bit into North Carolina. And he was
Mhm.
getting calls from out on the coast of, like 3-4 hours away, where he literally doesn't.
What?
He's a Keller Williams guy. So I turned it off because they charged him for it. And
Yep.
and when I read and I actually got on chat with support, they don't manually let you protest. You have to, the AI apparently listens to the conversation and decides
I
whether they're
know.
going to charge you, right?
I
So
wonder if you have
I listened
SAP.
to what she
Yeah.
said, and it was like, yeah, we don't service that area, but they still charged them for it.
Yeah, you will get charged for leads regardless. Like, so if someone manages to find your ad, but if you set those service areas, your ad should not be shown to someone that's 4 hours away. If it is and they call, yeah, there's no recourse. There used to be like you could dispute leads manually, be like, hey,
Okay.
this was a wrong number, whatever. But they now have an AI do it. So it does make me think,
It
I've
may
never
have
actually thought
been
about
not
this.
in, we may not have got that in time, like it
Yeah.
hadn't. I think we put that in as they were getting those calls. So
I
maybe
would
it just
try
had,
tweaking the
yeah.
profile to set that very specific area that you want to service, turn it back on, and then see what happens. If you keep getting those bunk leads, then you could turn off. But the thing I'm actually curious about, and I've never discussed this with the LSA people, is now that we know AI is doing the automatic disputing of leads and they're listening to the calls, I wonder if there's like phrases you could say, Like you have
Right.
your lead intake people say specific things.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, but we are unable to help you with this, or like whatever the catchphrases are, so that Google will automatically dispute the lead. That's actually an interesting idea, and so like testing that would be interesting.
Yeah, I kind of asked that in the chat a little bit because the guy seemed fairly knowledgeable that are person. He said like I wouldn't recommend that you refer it to another agent. They
Yeah, you
won't
pay for
count
it,
that. Yeah, they'll still make you pay for it. So you really have to be clear. We do not service that area.
right.
You
We
know.
cannot work with you. We do not service that area. Like I don't
Yeah.
know what the catchphrases are that you could try to get the AI to not charge
Yeah.
for the lead.
And
Yeah.
she did that, and it's still. I mean, I was able to listen to the call, and it still charged them. So I don't know.
Google, they're just a money grab.
Yeah, LSAs, man. It's why, I talk about in this program quite a bit that like we don't do LSAs as a standalone service.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
don't charge
right.
for LSAs because like there is no solution sometimes to the problems that they present, and it's purely like a cherry on top type of thing. Like if they work, great.
Right.
But like,
Yeah, these guys are paying me $1,000 a month for SEO,
yeah,
and I just did, I'm like, hey, yeah, I'll help you set this thing up, and so
yeah,
that started happening. So, but the good news is they were getting calls. They were pretty happy
yeah.
about that. There was
They'll
like
definitely
anything we can do
they will
about it
definitely
not being
generate
in our,
calls.
yeah. They started right away too. So
Yeah, they're pretty fun.
It does work, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
tricky.
the
cool.
quality of
Thanks, guys.
course. Phil asked, and this we get quite a bit of questions about like Google Business Profile posts.
Yeah.
Phil asked, how much juice does doing GeoKit located posts on a Google Business Profile carry?
Zero.
Yeah.
Zero juice if we're talking about juice. So the posts themselves have no ranking impact. Google does not look at the Google posts as part of the ranking algorithm. The only, well, I'm gonna say there's 5 juices. You get 5 juices out of a Google post, and you get it from engagement signals. So when you do Google Posts, you give somebody that's looking at the profile a little bit more to chew on, a little bit more to engage with. They might click on it, they might have more dwell time on the profile, and those could have a positive impact on your rankings. But the posts themselves, you never have to stuff keywords in it. You never have to worry about the images. The posts themselves are done for conversions directly. You're going to put a post up about a special, you're doing a sale. You're going to use posts as an extra space on the profile where you could highlight case studies. We won this client this huge settlement. That's an awesome Google post. Or take your best reviews and testimonials, put those up as Google posts. Let's say someone gave you a video review or a video testimonial. Make a Google post about that. So your post should be about selling directly or convincing people to convert. They shouldn't be, we launched a new blog post. Happy holidays, everyone. That's like a waste of space. Your Google post should be directly selling or convincing. But from a ranking benefit, they're not direct, only indirect via engagement signals.
Love it.
Nice. Appreciate that.
yeah,
Do
of
you
course.
mind if I have a quick follow-up just off of
Yeah,
one thing
please
that
go.
you mentioned on like the keywords that you put in a post, like don't have any bearing, and everything that goes along with everything you just said. And this is, I'll just ask what feels like a silly question. As I'm thinking about keyword, like ranking for particular keywords for GBP,
Yeah.
what goes into like if I want to rank for 5 different keywords, what am I doing to rank for those keywords if keywords don't matter in the post that they're in, like et cetera? Like what factors go into
sure.
ranking
Great.
for specific keywords?
I can answer that. So number one is the keywords in the business name. It's this freaking amazing rocket to the top of the results. You can't get 5 keywords in there though, so you'd have to pick one, and then you have to rebrand. So that one for sure. Categories and additional categories, looking for additional categories that match the keywords you want to rank for, very important. Services actually have a positive impact on ranking. So adding custom services or predefined services that match the keywords you want to rank for, and then the rest of it is on your website. So all the other fields on the Google Business Profile, the description, the Q&A, the product section, the Google posts, keywords in there will not impact ranking. So now you're going to your website. So your strategy is to make sure you have a dedicated service on the profile with like for what the keyword you want to rank for, and a dedicated page. And then that page should be a kick-ass page really built out, really covering the topic well with frequently asked questions. And then that's sort of your engine to drive your local rankings.
So you're
Makes
saying
total sense.
keywords on your website help rank your business profile?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh,
So
cool.
your website is your primary database for your Google business profile. So Google is definitely looking at the content on your website to understand your business. And so everything that you put on your website will 100% impact your local pack and Google Maps rankings for the Google business profile. But it doesn't go the other way. So anything you put on your profile won't help your organic rankings. It only goes website to Google business profile.
Thanks.
Of course. All
That's
right.
awesome.
Quick rapid fire question here, Christopher. I'll give you Christopher asked, essentially, is there a difference between putting small words like in a location page URL? He gives the example of /replacement Windows Maryland or replacement Windows in Maryland. I would say no. I'm actually a fan of truncating it to the smallest amount of words in there possible. It's just a personal preference for me. I don't know if there's a huge ranking difference either way.
I agree.
So I think I think, Chris, like the smaller, the cleaner you can remove I don't know, what is that, a preposition in, you can remove the prepositions from there and just focus on kind of like the head keyword, if you will. That's my advice. I don't know if you have anything different on that, Darren.
Well, I don't think it hurts either way. Like you could add it, but what I think that it's not something to worry too much about. It's like, I think that the question would be someone goes to Google and they search replacement Windows Detroit, right? Some people will search that way, but other people might search replacement Windows in Detroit. And so the question would be, will I rank better for those people that are adding that in if I have that in my title tags? And I think possibly, I think it's a very minor factor. You're thinking about, there are way more valuable things to be invested in, but it doesn't hurt to add the in. You might want to add the in. It's pretty minor. I do like near me. A lot of people say that the whole near me thing is stupid. Don't bother with it. But I do like near me in your title tags. And actually, I would use near you because Google thinks they're a synonym. So it'd be like replacement Windows in Detroit near you. And so it's a little hacky thing, but people do sometimes search that, like replacement Windows near me. Depends on the business and the type of business. But I like squeezing those into the title tags and the headings.
Interesting. Good to know. Rathna asks, Darren, are you familiar with Auto? It's an AI SEO one-click automation tool. Maybe you're not familiar with this, but maybe you
I am
can
not.
speak generally to, I have some thoughts on these tools too, but just kind of like, maybe this could be more future looking, but the one-click kind of AI SEO tool, current state, future state, if you have any thoughts or opinions on that.
I would have to check it out. So anything that you can do in one click raises a lot of questions because like how does it hit all the points? It might. I don't know. Maybe you connect your Google business profile, it does an analysis, and then you press a button and it optimizes the profile. Maybe. It's not that far-fetched. I did mention that the website also becomes a really important thing. So you're missing half of the equation if you're only doing the Google business profile. I'm not familiar with it. I would say that it has potential. I'd have to look at it.
Yeah, I've actually tested this out, Rathna, because I saw this kind of going quasi-viral on my LinkedIn feed. And what I find, and I like, I think we say this about AI a lot, is like, it's good, but it's not quite there. We tested it and it didn't speed anything up because there was still so much review that we had to do. It's basically like a one-click audit tool, Darren. It kind of like, it's not too far off, but I think also there's always a level of you wanting to review it yourself, because if everything's doing the exact same thing, where's the value that we're creating, right? So there's always a level of you wanting to review it yourself. We just didn't find that it saved that much time. It was also kind of expensive. I think it's where it's getting to is these types of tools eventually. And I actually had this thought a couple years ago. I was like, man, there's a huge opportunity out there for there to be a true AI optimization tool that literally just does all the repetitive title tag writing. That's what this does, but it's not great. So I tested it, nothing against this tool, but I just think generally at a macro level that these tools aren't quite there yet. And also keep in mind when they are there, which I do believe they will get there, there's still going to need to be an element of if everyone is doing the exact same thing, like if you're a plumber and you're working with plumber clients and everyone's
Yeah.
using the same tool, every title is going to be the same, every page is going to be the same. At that point, is Google just going to be garbage, or is there still going to be a need for human creativity to help stand out? And I think it's the latter, personally.
Information gain. This is the catchphrase for 2025. What are you providing that is not currently in the LLM's database? What's new? What can you add? How can you add more information? And I think that's where you start to win, especially when the playing field gets leveled for everybody because they're all just pressing the button, then you've got to stand out.
Yep, absolutely. Doug asked, I have a lawyer client that is number one in organic search for terms like personal injury attorney in my city, but he's number 56 in the Maps pack for these terms. He's in a Regis office. Is it possible to get him in the Maps pack, or does he need to move?
Ooh, the Regis office itself wouldn't typically be a dampening factor. There's a lot of Regis offices that are ranking just fine. I would say reviews is probably the number one thing. So a steady stream of reviews coming in will probably be the thing that actually brings them back up in the results. Plus, you really compete on business name in the local results. And so if he doesn't have keywords in the business name, but the top 10 all have, the primary keyword in their business name, you'll never catch them. You'll never get in there without the keywords in your name too. So keywords in the name and the reviews will be the biggest things to start moving the local results.
Yeah, the Regis isn't necessarily a ranking impediment. It's more of a verification impediment, right?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
tougher to get those verified and get them to stick. So if it's been there for a while, then you should be fine with that. But to Darren's point, it's not the website ranking number one is a really good sign that you definitely have an opportunity to rank, but there's additional factors, reviews mainly, that need to go into it. And yeah, I mean, we see it a lot. We work with a lot of injury attorneys. It's kind of like, just like we were talking about, like this information gain, like everyone now has personal injury, car accident in their GBP title. So you like have to just to even like get to the table now. And you got to file a DBA in order to do that, in order to get it stick. Just FYI, have the attorney do it. Anne asked, when you do that in another city, how does that affect your website design? Do you have tabs with multiple locations? I'm assuming that's a follow-up from one of the questions we had up here.
One sec though, I just saw Doug in the chat saying he has tons of reviews. He's got a 5.0. Steady reviews are coming in. In that case, I would question your rank tracking. You may be tracking from a location that's far away. Rankings are going to be different every block across the whole city. So are you tracking from his zip code? Are you tracking from the north side of the city when he's located in the south side? And then you're like, oh, he only ranks 55, but that's because you're tracking so far away. So I would actually look at how you're assessing this. So even if you're just doing a Google search in an incognito browser and you go like, San Francisco personal injury lawyer, that will set the centroid. If you're outside Francisco, that'll set the centroid to the rankings to the centroid, but he might be on the south side. So he might rank like number one in the local results around his area, but you're not seeing it because you're actually not looking in the right place. That's a possibility.
Also, check the GBP data. I mean, the rankings, these tools are, Darren's building it so he can speak better to me, but like your GBP actual data is going to give you everything you need to know. It's going to show you impressions. It's going to show you clicks. It's going to show you calls. That should really be like, we use a lot of rank tracking software in the first couple months of the campaign, but once we start to get traction, we move much more towards reporting off of the profile's performance, because ultimately that's what we care about the most. And so yeah, I would use that as kind of the foundation. The rank tracking software should kind of be layered on top of that, in my opinion. Jeff asked, do you have any recommendation for a plumber that is buying another plumber and wants to keep the 500 plus reviews, keep the location as a separate GBP, but change the name of the listing?
You just answered it. Yeah. Keep it as a separate listing. When you buy it, make sure that they make you an owner of it, and be careful to not touch anything else. Google will ask you to like kill that listing and make a new one if you talk to support. So you don't want to do that because you want to maintain the history of that profile and you want to maintain those reviews. So I would change the name of it once you get ownership of it and go from there.
Are there any steps like getting a new DBA? Do you need documentation? that the purchase actually happened. I could see them just throwing it into an instant video verification.
So it's a good question. I don't believe Google doesn't really care about names. It's weird, but if you change your address, you change your phone number, sometimes when you change your primary category, they'll be more likely to trigger a re-verification. But name changes, Google's like, yeah, whatever. So you're generally going to get away with a name change without having to re-verify. What I would do is before you change the name, update the key citations. So you're going to want to do Better Business Bureau. You're going to want to do Facebook, LinkedIn, any data aggregators. Get the core sites, any industry specific sites. So plumbing specific sites like, Home Advisor, Angie's, any of those like sites that are Google's looking at in that industry, get those citations updated before you change Google. And also, what about the website URL? That's another one that might trigger a verification. Eventually, you're going to want to point their website URL on the profile to the acquiring company's website URL. I would do those in 2 separate steps.
I may just keep the website and change the logo on it.
Yeah, I like that actually. And that way it's just cleaner, right? You don't have to, the less you touch, the less you disrupt, the safer that operation will go. And so update your citations first, then do the business name. If you could leave the website URL, great. If you're going to do both the name and the website URL, give at least a week in between changing each of those fields.
Can you recommend the citation service? Just kidding.
Are you kidding? Okay, yeah. I would recommend WhitSpark Citation Service. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity to plug.
Taylor asked, and this is a very common question that I get at least on one live stream a month, which is essentially expanding the ranking radius, right?
Yeah.
So the grid, she says specifically any game-changing tactics you've used or discovered that expands visibility for a business.
Yep.
How far out can you expect this kind of ranking grid to expand before needing another location?
Well, the number one tactic is getting their keywords in the business name. That will be mind-blowingly powerful to expand your radius. So huge, has a massive impact. How far can you expand it? It depends on how competitive the industry is. Ann Kibler's on this call and she added keywords to her business name, but she's not in as competitive a market, but now she just dominates the whole state almost. Even if you search from like out of state, she's number one in the local results. So the radius is very expanded depending on the competition of the market. Personal injury lawyer, a dentist, a plumber, much more densely populated of businesses, and so your radius can only go so far. But keywords in the name are the big one, and I would say reviews would be the other one. Just like getting an order of magnitude more reviews than your competition will help expand the radius as well.
Alexander asked, I work with a few local clients in quite a few industries, and I'm wondering who might be a good candidate for LSAs. High ticket markets like law firms, high volume clients like locksmiths. Are there any metrics you look at beforehand to determine a good candidate? I can take a first stab at this, Darren. So look, with our law firm clients, and there's levels to law firms, right? There's personal injury law, and then there's immigration law, right? And the difference in the cost is drastic, right? And immigration does have a pretty high client value still. Personal injury is obviously through the roof. So it's one of those, like, it depends, right? I'll give you an example though, right? Like we try and do them for all of our legal clients. They don't always work. They don't always get good quality. Some markets they do, some markets they don't. It is a literal crapshoot. Again, why we don't lead with this as a service. It's a cherry on top. However, my friend just opened a barbershop. He's in Tampa. And, I'm helping him out with everything I can, getting reviews on his profile, setting it up. He's actually ranking first now. It's pretty impressive within just 2 months because he got like 100 reviews. Now, I'm also trying to help him with LSAs. And he got him set up and he's getting phone calls for like $1, like $1, you know what I mean? Like it's insanely cheap because that market, no disrespect, most barbershop owners are not necessarily the most savvy when it comes to Google advertising in general. They're working on more word of mouth. It's so like you kind of just have to try it out, Alex. You can check the calculator, but again, what I always like to do is just go to the client and just be honest with them, be like, let me show you my screen real quick. I'm going to take your main keyword. I'm going to search for it. the first thing that shows up is this newer-ish ad offering from Google. The good thing about it is that it's pay per action, pay per lead. So for $1,000 or less, we can figure out what that cost is going to be, and we can figure out what the quality is going to be. I'm not going to charge you for it. You only have to pay the ad spend. It's a really good way to extend the life of clients, because anything that you can do that's going to drive business value for them, it's going to make them a lot harder to remove you. So that's what I would do, Alexander. Like, I would just test it. I would go to the client hat in hand and be like, look, I want to help you. I want to drive more business results for you, and this is a really good option. $500. Let's see how it goes. Who says no?
I have nothing to add.
Awesome. All right. Jason said, for GBPs, just to confirm, there was no need to build products or services. Mobile Botox, mobile Ozempic shots won't help much, right?
Services, definitely build the services. So
Yeah.
you want the services on your Google business profile. They directly impact rankings, and you want a page on your site to reflect each one of those services to feed it with more data. I like products too. I like to fill it out. It's not a ranking signal, but it's a conversion signal. So every one of your services, make it a product in the GBP product section. It gives people more to engage with. You can link each product to the actual service page on your site, so they have decent visibility and they can drive direct conversion. So I definitely would do both. Basically, my rule is if you have a section or a field on your Google business profile, use it. And so why would you not use it?
Yeah, exactly.
Darren, can I ask a quick question here?
Yes, please.
In regards to what you were saying, so I have a client they're a med spa client, and it's very competitive. Like, let's say fillers, one guy down the street might cost $8 a unit versus they are a more luxury experience, whatever, and they charge 9 or 10 depending on whatever package. Putting the price there, which in this situation, would I put the price or not? Because I feel like price might actually. You don't need to. I noticed it wasn't mandatory, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I would just leave the price off.
Yeah.
Unless that is one of your value propositions, which is like, we're the cheapest in town, then you might want to put the price, because that could be encouraging.
Right.
Yeah.
Also do
Right. Okay.
stuff too.
Amazing. Thank you.
Kai asked, this is going to sound like a dumb question, guys. There's no such thing as a dumb question here. Absolutely not. Please ask. That's why we're here. But in the FAQ on WhitSpark, it says you don't work with agencies, resellers. Am I making a basic misunderstanding here?
No, we do not do white labeling of our SEO services. So that's on our agency. So we will not do all of our agency SEO services in a white label capacity. Everything else, heck yeah. So our listing service is all white labeled by default. So when you get your report, it comes onto an unbranded URL you can share with your clients. So listing service is really like, a lot of agencies use us for listings, and that's very white labelable. And then the same thing on our software side. The rank tracker has sort of white label functionality. Our reputation builder has what we call gray label, like you can kind of brand it as your own. And our grid software will have white label functionality. And our local platform, it's not really white labelable. You kind of use that as your agency, but you don't really need to show it to your clients. But other than our SEO services, no, we don't do SEO as the behind the scenes agency, but everything else, yes.
Yeah. The two questions about the Bright Local that just came in. I'll just say this is that you don't need Bright Local if you move over to WhitSpark, especially now that WhitSpark is going to be launching rank tracking, all the same stuff. And somebody asked, what's the main difference? I said, Darren is here giving his valuable time and attention, helping you out. That should be enough on its own. We also use WhitSpark. We stamp our name on it, our brand on it. We love it. And again, we have the founder of the company here with us giving us one-on-one support. So, my wholeheartedly vote goes to WhitSpark over Bright Local.
If you're using Bright Local's grid, that would be one reason to stay. If you love that grid, you use that grid, and because we don't have that. So I always say that's one key thing. In terms of everything else, we basically have comparable software. I would say on the review side, if you're using Bright Local's review management, ours is more expensive. And so that's a consideration for you as well.
Not if you take 20%
just to be honest, right? Like, about those couple things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we have time for one more question here. Cody said, I've recently had 2 clients get de-verified on Google Business Profile for address changes. Re-verification has been a nightmare via video verification option. One has failed 3 times in a row now. We just got the live video call option enabled for the other. Any tips past this to reduce this kind of headache?
Make the video shorter, like way shorter. Try to keep it under a minute. So you usually see the failures with video verification. What it's like uploading, and then it gets to 99% and then it fails. And so that is failing because the file is too big. Modern phones take really high resolution video, and it's too big for their system to handle. So the shorter you can get that video, the more likely you are to be successful. And so that would be my biggest tip if you keep getting failure with video verification.
I also said that you got a really good video on this that he used.
Yeah.
And same thing, and the video got approved. So,
yep.
All right. Everyone say thank you to Darren for his time today. He's been extremely helpful. Any follow-up questions, guys, just drop it in Slack, and I'll handle it. Appreciate all of you, your time, your attention. Have a great day. God bless.
Thanks for having me again. Always love to chat about this stuff. See everybody.